Hey, it's Captain Roger. It's been raining all day, but you know what? There's a little break. We're going for a walk. You know, one of the things that always intrigues me about walking with God is what that phrase even means. And I'm generally a skeptic when people tell me that God has told them they need to do this thing or that, because in my experience, God really lets people make their own choices. And a lot of the time, when someone tells me they're certain that God has called them to something, whatever that something is, seems to be what they would have decided to do anyway. It's almost like they've made a decision and then tried to spiritualize it somehow. And I think most of the time people don't even realize that's what they're doing. Instead, they pray something like, "Lord, I want this, but you tell me what you want." And then anything positive that might happen is going to just get taken as confirmation that this is it, all right. This is what God called me to all along. Now, there are times and there are ways where I felt a pull, or the voice in my head seems to speak differently than it would ordinarily, or things might suddenly be arranged in a way that seems to open a path for me to walk. It's not always the one I want to walk either, by the way. And there have even been a couple of occasions where I would say I had seen or experienced something that seemed supernatural. And I've known a number of individuals who've had encounters of that sort. And I mean, I don't mean just the crazy people either. I'm talking about sane, sober, intelligent individuals who aren't given to exaggeration or fantasy. Which is why stories in the Bible about people who talk to God always interest me. I always wonder what they mean when they say that they hear his voice. Is it audible? Or is it something they were convicted of? Or something that they saw that led them to be convinced that this was a message from the Lord and not just their own fatigue, or maybe a piece of undercooked meat causing a hallucination? Well, in some cases, we have an answer. Moses, at the end of Leviticus 7, is described as speaking with God in a tent of meeting. It says that when Moses entered the inner chamber of the tabernacle, he would stand before the Ark of the Covenant, which was this fancy gold box that God was believed to use as a seat. And on top of the box, there were two cherubim, statues of these terrifying, multi-winged creatures that were told, well, save that for later. Now, Moses, it's written here, he would actually hear an audible voice, or perhaps a sound or a cry or something on that order, but voice seems the best translation. An audible voice that speaks to him from between the cherubim, and he, Moses, would speak to it in return. Kind of like a heavenly ham radio. Now, I think most of us will never hear God's voice anywhere near that clearly, but I also think that listening for his voice and responding to it are key parts of what it means to walk with him. And for me, I hear God's voice clearest in Scripture that he provided for us, which is one of the reasons that my walk with God involves walking through the Bible. I hope you'll find at least echoes of that in your walk as well. Speaking of walking, I've been out here for a bit, and the drips are starting to catch up. I better finish my walk. Grace and peace to you. I'll see you tomorrow.